What's up, everyone? Coach D speaks here. For those of you who know me, you know that I do not mince words when it comes to Ted Cruz. He's not a likable guy. The amount of lies and deceit that he can string together in one sentence is honestly kind of impressive. I don't agree with Donald Trump on almost anything. But when he called Ted Cruz lying Ted, I couldn't agree more. Because that is all this dude does. I mean, seriously, check out what he had to say about the difference in how the DOJ and FBI are handling Donald Trump and Joe Biden and the classified documents investigations.
We've learned the Biden Department of Justice leaks like a sieve when it's against Donald Trump. We see photographs of the raid. We all see all sorts of leaks when it's politically advantageous. And yet in this instance, 6 days before the election, miraculously, DOJ was slammed tight like a trap. They were not going to leak it because they want Democrats to win.
Okay, first of all, we saw one picture of classified documents on the floor, and yes, someone should have to answer for that. But of course, he says we saw all sorts of leaks and then doesn't back that up with what we actually saw because we didn't see all sorts of leaks. We saw a video and pictures of the raid, but there was only one raid, and that was on Mar-a-Lago. So there are no pictures or videos to see of a raid on Joe Biden's homes or his offices because there were none. And why would the Department of Justice want Democrats to win? Like, if you're going to make a statement like that, you should qualify that statement with evidence. But of course, lying Ted doesn't do that.
And I think one of the very worst legacies of Joe Biden has been the deep corruption of the Department of Justice and of the FBI. Why didn't the FBI raid Joe Biden's Delaware home? Why didn't they raid the Penn Center? Why did they just trust the lawyers? Hey, you guys look around, see what's there. Because it is a patently double standard.
There's no double standard at all. This could be answered very easily. There was an absence of obstruction. You see, with Donald Trump, they asked him over and over again, can you turn over the documents? And he didn't, so they had to get a warrant and raid his home in order to get those documents. In the case of Joe Biden, he voluntarily turned over the documents and voluntarily allowed them to go in and look for other documents and turn them over as well. There's no double standard here.
And I will say this. I think the White House is not really concerned about legal exposure. Merrick Garland appointed as a special counsel someone who had been the right hand to Rod Rosenstein, who had been the right hand to Chris Wray.
Here's a question. Why is Donald Trump so bad at choosing people to be loyal to him? You know, Donald Trump appointed Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray to lead both the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But now Ted Cruz is sitting here trying to convince you that people who are the right hand of Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray would somehow now be in the tank for Joe Biden. Why? So again, why is Donald Trump so bad at choosing people to be loyal to him? When Donald Trump appointed both of them, he had nothing but great things to say about how loyal they were going to be to him. So why suddenly now would the FBI and the DOJ, who have Trump-appointed leaders, not be invested in making sure that Donald Trump was getting a fair shake? Here's the answer. They are invested in it. They're just doing their job honestly, and lying Ted hates the fact that they're not being biased.
I think they believe this special counsel is going to give him a slap on the wrist, slap it under the rug, and be done with it. They're not really worried, I think, about facing an indictment. Here's what they are worried about. Merrick Garland and the Biden White House wanted to indict Donald J. Trump. They wanted to indict him for Mar-a-Lago, and suddenly they're in a world of hurt politically. Because if they bring that indictment, even someone who's been asleep under a log for 100 years will wake up and say, wait a second, why do you indict that guy for doing the same thing the other guy did? That's their problem, and it's why they're so dismayed.
Okay, first of all, we know that they didn't do the same thing because in one case, there was obstruction, and in the other case, there wasn't. However, you know, at least now the right is being forced to admit that something Donald Trump did was wrong. Because saying that Joe Biden needs to be investigated means they have to admit that Donald Trump's investigation was warranted as well. And here's the deal. Personally, I believe, and I believe many people on the left would agree, that both of them should be investigated and that these are serious issues. But here's the difference. We're not an occult. So we're not going to say that they should just sweep it under a rug because it involves Joe Biden. But here's the difference here. When Donald Trump was the only person being investigated, that is exactly what Lying Ted and the rest of Republicans wanted them to do. Period.
Our blue wall stopped the red wave and election deniers got denied election. That's why we're celebrating with the new Democracy Prevails team. We've got lots of work to do, but we should all be proud that when democracy was tested, democracy prevailed. You've earned this. Don't wait. Get yours right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.